If there is a most surprising and undeniably supernatural story, it is that of the angel of Jehovah who defeated 185,000 men in a single night. Is it possible that a single angel defeated the army of the most powerful empire of that time? What do historians think about this? Is it possible that angels can fight against men? And if so, why did God allow this to happen? If you want to know the answers to all these questions, join us until the end to immerse ourselves together in this fascinating Bible study. The period of the Assyrian Empire is only one episode in the long history of this world, but for the student of the Bible, it is of great importance because of the decisive role of Assyria in the history of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. This importance is evident from the fact that Assyria and its people are mentioned many times in the Holy Scriptures. 6 illustrious Assyrian kings are mentioned by name in the Bible, and the names of 10 Hebrew kings, 6 of Israel and 4 of Judah, appear in Assyrian royal inscriptions. The Assyrian Empire was one of the most dominant powers of the ancient world, spanning from the beginnings of human civilization in 2500 BC until its eventual fall in 612 BC. The history of Assyria is usually divided into 3 main periods: the Old Kingdom, the Middle Assyrian Empire, and the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Due to its geopolitical dominance and ideology based on world domination, many researchers consider the Neo-Assyrian Empire to be the first world empire in history. Since in the year 701 BC, the Assyrian king Sennacherib wanted to keep the kingdom of Judah. So he began to take over the cities of Judah one by one. But the city he wanted most was Jerusalem. What Sennacherib did not know was that Jehovah was protecting her. At that time, Hezekiah, son of King Acaz, was the current king of Judah. Here during his reign he did evil before Jehovah. He closed the temple and built pagan altars in Jerusalem, thus leading the kingdom of Judah to idolatry. Acaz lived until his last days as a vassal of the king of Assyria. After Acaz died, his son Hezekiah ascended the throne of Judah. Hezekiah demonstrated his zeal for the worship of Jehovah as soon as he ascended the throne. At the age of 25, his first action was to reopen the temple and repair it, and he also celebrated Easter, something that had not been done for a long time. And likewise, he destroyed the pagan images and also broke into pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made. Let's read in the 2nd book of Kings, chapter 18, verse 13. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them. How will Hezekiah, the one who had put his trust in God like no other, react? Would he put all his hope in God as he had done from the beginning of his reign, no matter how threatening the enemy powers were? In verse 15 of chapter 19 of the 2nd book of Kings, we read how Hezekiah personally addressed his God in prayer, placing the outcome of this contest in his hands. Let's read what the biblical story says. And Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, "Lord, the God of Israel, enthroned between the cherubim, you alone are God over all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Give ear, Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, Lord, and see. Listen to the words Sennacherib has sent to ridicule the living God. It is true, Lord, that the Assyrian kings have laid waste these nations and their lands. They have thrown their gods into the fire and destroyed them, for they were not gods, but only wood and stone, fashioned by human hands. Now, Lord our God, deliver us from his hand, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you alone, Lord, are God." According to an ancient commentator, Hezekiah's weapons were sanctuary armor, torn garments, and humble prayer. Sennacherib had never encountered such an adversary. A man who, instead of putting on the frame, wrapped himself in sacks, that instead of going to the battlefield on his chariot, he got down on his knees at the time. In the different trials of his life, Hezekiah learned to pray, but here we see him together with the prophet Isaiah crying out to God unanimously and in a very concrete way. On the same night, after the united prayer of Hezekiah and Isaiah, as we can deduce, the angel of the Lord came out and killed all the soldiers in the camp of the king of Assyria. In the 2nd book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 35 onwards, we find more details of what happened to the soldiers and the king of Assyria. Let's see what the biblical story says. That night the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, broke camp and withdrew. He returned to Nineveh and stayed there. One day, while he was worshipping in the temple of his god Nisroch, his sons Adramelech and Sharezer killed him with the sword, and they escaped to the land of Ararat. And Esarhaddon his son succeeded him as king. Simply and powerfully, God destroyed the mighty Assyrian army in one night. 185,000 soldiers died at the hands of the angel of Jehovah. Against all odds and against all expectations except the expectation of faith, the Assyrian army was returned without even having fired a single arrow into Jerusalem. The irrepressible was contained. The undefeated was defeated. The most powerful empire of that time was put to shame. As we read these passages, we remember what it says in Psalm 34, verse 7. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. This protection means that no one, neither demons nor men, can lift a finger against God's children until God removes the shield around them. These prophetic words were fulfilled perfectly. The northern kingdom of Israel was taken captive by the Assyrian Empire. However, when the Assyrian Empire also wanted to take the kingdom of Judah captive, God intervened in a miraculous way, killing 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Now, modernists ask themselves, how can we accept that a God of love sends his angel to kill 185,000 soldiers? However, they forget that these warriors were not kind people. The Assyrians have been one of the cruelest and savage peoples in history. They practiced genocides and deportations with their enemies. In addition to having a right that contemplated harsh penalties and punishments such as impalement, skinning, castration, or disfigurement of the face with boiling oil. All this evil made the people afraid of the Assyrian Empire. Also for this reason, the prophet Jonah refused to preach to Nineveh, which was the capital of the Assyrian Empire. History confirms this. In approximately 681 BC, his sons murdered Sennacherib in hopes of seizing power for themselves. Babylon and the Levant received his death as a divine punishment, since he had been a very bloodthirsty king. The murder of King Sennacherib was the fulfillment of the prophecy that God spoke to King Hezekiah through the prophet Isaiah, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his land. Dear listener, all of us in life, no matter how dedicated we are to Christ, have so many moments of difficulty that many times we don't know what to do and everything seems lost. It is not about us ignoring the problems we may have. We recognize that we have problems, but we believe that with Jesus Christ we will be victorious. When all seems lost, God works in a wonderful way. If we humble ourselves and put our trust in God, we will see the power of God. Let us notice the words that Jesus Christ said to Martha. Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" And so we come to the end of this video. And without further ado, I say goodbye now, and it will be with me until the next time.